I'm so excited to see some familiar faces and some new faces. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Batan Tamir. I'm in Tel Aviv, Israel, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Click2. So I want to welcome you to this series of live interactive events that we run here at Click2. It's called Greatness in the Works. We love that name. And this is an opportunity to engage with our community of L&D and HR professionals. And today we have a very vital topic of leadership without authority. And we're going to get to that just in 1 or 2 minutes. Before that, for those of you who this is their first meeting with Click2, it's important for me to tell you a little bit about Click2. We've been partnering with some of the top tier world-class training providers out there, including Blanchard, who is our partner today in this event. And basically the goal is to have all the best training for leaders just in one place. One place so you can find the right programs that fit for your leaders all in one place. One of the key innovative features of Click2 is the fact that each cohort is actually made of people from different companies. So you don't need to have your own internal group. You can have just individual or a single leader that needs a program, and they will meet within their cohort on Click2. They will meet people from some of the most exciting and innovative companies out there. There are 4 main parts I want to highlight on what's part of this comprehensive learning methodology that we developed here at Click2 in partnership with the vendors and the companies that we work with. The first one is the fact that this is all transformational learning. It's done through goal setting and skill assessment. Now, everything is live. Everything is live. No more self-directed videos or stuff like that people never complete or never have time for. This is all live sessions, engaging hands-on in small groups. And in between the sessions, there's ongoing practice and application of new skills on the job assignments, right? So we have everything is wrapped up with the platform that makes sure that everyone has the time to practice. And if somebody needs to meet somebody else from the group to practice together, the platform automatically does that. Everything is automated and done for you. And this group doesn't stop and doesn't end at the end of the program. It's the learning is continuous because the community of fellow professionals is lifelong. It's here to stay. So this is the same model that runs for every single program on Click2. And what we heard from our L&D partners and HR partners is that every leader throughout their journey, they need a different program, and not all leaders at the company are at the same space, the same spot right now. So this is what's so cool about Click2. You could actually have 10 different programs throughout the year and assign and enroll and match specific individual leaders to those programs. So we would love to meet with you one-on-one or many-to-many and explore a little bit deeper and a little bit more into what does it mean for you and how we can help you with developing your leaders. Now, if you look at the bottom of this list, there's one program called Leading Without Authority for Tech Experts, which is exactly what we are here for today. So let me add Raresh here, and I want to introduce Raresh. Raresh is a master trainer at Blanchard, advanced certified team coach. And he's also the co-founder of Mojo Moments in the US and Meta System Coaching Middle East. Now, you should know about Raresh that he has traveled to over 35 countries to deliver workshops where he trained more than 15,000 people. And on the personal side, he's an enthusiastic kite surfer and mountain biker and a proud father of 2 daughters. And he's joining us from Romania. So please take the stage, Raresh. And
Thank you.
take us through the workshop, and let us all enjoy. I'll be here.
Thank you very much, Datan, and hello everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Good. I think it would be maybe interesting that while we're talking, while I'm inviting you to go through this experience, that you take maybe a few seconds to introduce yourself in the chat, like just say where you are based right now. It could be interesting to see where are we on this world, and maybe where are you from, where are you coming from, what's your company, what's your role in a company. And maybe it would be good, as a starter for us. And then also you can also scroll through the chat and see who are others. So that would be just as a beginning step. And thank you, Dotan, for the introduction. Yeah, I'm honored to be here, and my role would be to try to keep you connected for the next 4 hours in our session. No, that was a bad joke. It's just an hour and a half or so, with this topic of elevating tech experts to self-leaders. And that's basically what we want to look at. So today is going to be sharing of information, but also some experience that we want to invite you to. So, and in the meantime, some thank you. So here we have people from Tel Aviv, Los Angeles. Oh, so it's very early for you at this moment, right? Natalie, thank you. Dakota, okay, we get
it's only 8 a.m.
Only 8 a.m. Oh, thank you for making this effort. Good. Again, from Israel. So Israel is good afternoon towards to evening. Holding on this. Uruguay, Montevideo. Welcome. That's interesting. So we are from 3 continents here. Thank you very much. I'm going to look a little bit there, but in the meantime, I'm going to upload a slide deck just with the purpose of structuring the information. And don't worry, we'll send you a PDF version of the slides with the key information if you're interested, so that you're really benefiting from this. Now, this is what we titled the session, and we also want to look at perhaps ask this question: why should we care about this? Really, is it really important to elevate tech leaders there? And I like to share with you a few maybe insights that I had and we had at the Blanchard team, and when we were thinking, okay, why is this important? So here are a few things. They are taken out of research, and this is to say a few words a bit more from aside from what Dotan said about Blanchard. For those of you who live in the US, maybe Ken Blanchard sounds familiar to you as a name. He's the founder of the company. We call ourselves Blanchard right now. We are a research-based company. So whatever we do, we have a research team. It's currently located in San Diego, which is where our headquarters is. And basically, we try to look at what's the science, and then how we create models, the practical models that we can work. So everything I'm sharing with you has connections with research and has connections with, practical models. On the other end, the program that you'll experience a little bit, and then we're going to talk about, is created by Blanchard Israel. So the team in Israel, and together my partner Erez, who's the CEO of Blanchard Israel, and we at the team, we thought and we created and we designed it and tested with the clients. Now, here are a few things that is really interesting to look at. First, there's at this moment, 2023, a fragile workforce that keeps CEO up at night. Now, I know it may sound like a dooming statement, but basically, if you look at this top, and here is the top, and here is some statistics that I want to share with you. Here are the top CEO concerns as of 2023. That one from the companies that does this research, which is DDI, and then looks at the top 3 that are listed there are attracting and retaining top talent, which is 59% of their concerns. Developing the next generation of leaders, which I found that really they're really connected, the two in a way, and then maintaining an engaged workforce. And this is something that concerns, they see as challenges here. Now, why is this important? Well, if this is key, retaining and developing future leaders and this outranks economic and business concerns, it means that they should have also a connection, especially in the tech industry, with tech leaders. Because sometimes even if they don't have a managerial role, they are leaders in a way. And this is what we're calling for. And here is also a quote from a CEO from consumer products and retail. The greatest challenge in taking on his role was to build and retain a winning team. So this is one of the key topics that we're looking at, and say this is one of the whys that's informed and actually gave us confidence when building this. And then when we look at research, compelling research that we had access to shows that the single most essential ingredient in organizational success is the proactive behavior. Now, the proactive behavior should be linked, and actually is linked sometimes, with thriving organizations. Now, attracting or retaining workforce needs to be a proactive behavior. This is linked with self-leadership. It's also interesting that the lack of proactive individuals in the company impacts performance and productivity. And we found this at Blanchard, that proactivity is key. Now, why is the lack of proactive individuals? Well, it could be because sometimes individual contributors are maybe not taking the initiative. They don't have the skills. They don't have the confidence. Maybe because managers don't have the time or skills to develop employees. So maybe they want to get to some external vendors, or maybe they can do it internally. Thank you. I see a comment already. And then employees don't have the mindset to self-lead. And in my opinion, my experience was that the third one is very interesting. And sometimes I met this. So, I mean, because you can have the skill set, but if you don't have the mindset, then you would not use the skill set. And I think this is really, really important. Now, to move on, there's another layer that is interesting. Now, I know we just went out of the 2020 COVID crisis, and now there's a war going on, at least on the border of my country, because I'm based in Bucharest. But this is a word I didn't want to use. I have to use it. It's a crisis of trust in leadership. There is a crisis of trust in leadership. And here are some numbers. The percentage of people that says, I trust senior leaders at my organization to do what is right, is 32%. Not sure it's too big. I mean, it's like 1/3 of the organization. I trust my manager to do what is right, 46%, less than half. And this is also combined and actually confirmed by the research that's showing that employees who distrust their leaders are more likely to leave the organization, report unreasonable levels of stress and anxiety, and be actively disengaged. Yeah. So this is interesting. So the trust level in organization is in a way manifesting. Now, we may say, is this even on a self-leadership level, or individual, and like even tech leaders, is this a matter of competence or a matter of confidence, or maybe a matter of motivation and have conversations? Well, it depends on the organization, but we can deal with this. Trust enables cooperation, as as maybe you can see here, and encourages information sharing. And it's nice because it increases openness. But, and this is a but that I want to add here, in the same time, studies show that 82% of people say they don't trust their boss to tell the truth. And 45% of employees say lack of trust is the biggest issue. So it's interesting. And we thought that we could address this in a program that is also part of this. Now, I had a chance to work with different tech companies, more than 12 at this moment, which are global. And I was listening to tech leaders that were, part of the workshop. And they were stating this. Now, how do I build trust? I mean, how do I move from a fluffy topic to a really practical one? Because it may sound fluffy sometimes, right? Now, there's a third dimension I want to bring here for our conversation, and that is the coaching. So coaching conversations are essential. Obviously, this is perhaps a truth. It's maybe common sense, but the question is this common practice? Well, I don't know. Here is something that we found at Blanchard. Regular communication around development, meaning coaching conversations, is essential. Yet Blanchard, Harvard Business Review, more than 80 years ago, discovered that the single most important managerial competency is coaching, where we separate highly effective managers from average performing managers. Now, this is important. Why? If people get coached, they develop. If people get coached, they will coach others. So there is a sort of an imitation happening in your organization. The reality right now, the reality of the 2020s, is that the coaching cultures are effective. Many companies state that, but they are dwindling. And that's a reality right now, unfortunately. I am part of ICF. I'm a professional coach, so I'm contributing to this profession. We see an increase in the need of professional coaches inside company, which is good. On the other end, we're seeing that sometimes it's the lack of trust or confidence into, to developing this. Here are some numbers from, it is a positive. Leaders getting quality coaching from their managers. And I'm saying leaders, I'm not saying necessarily, so we include also tech leaders here. They're 4.3 times more likely to feel they have a clear development path. High quality coach. 2.7 times more likely to feel accountable for being an effective leader, and 1.5 times less likely to feel they have to change the organization. So, and also when we think about leaders, and this is something also reported in research, those who received or they get effective coaching from their managers, the leaders who get this, were twice as likely to want more of it. So we don't necessarily need to push coaching or sell coaching aggressively, because people who get effective coaching, they want more, right? So this is interesting in terms, where are we in terms of the coaching culture? And yes, thank you, Jody. Yes, you're right. So it may be a confusion around this topic, like what does coaching mean, for example, and whether this is delivered right or not. Because I've heard conversations, and you're right, saying people say, I coach this guy, but I'm wondering, do you really get it right what coaching is? And sometimes this also turns people off when they didn't get the right coaching there. So with that said, I would conclude with the coaching part with two more, let's say, data here, if you want. Like, it's a study that we did in 2016 at about 100 organizations. This is before the pandemic. And the respondents cited that their managers to be more coach-like was their number one concern. Now, after 2020, we think it's even more important for a manager or for a leader or self-leader to be a coach, because that's the way to go. I mean, we're moving at a breakneck speed. And nearly half of the managers spend less than 10% of their time coaching others. This is an assessment. I don't think this has changed significantly lately. So with this in mind, we thought at Blanchard Israel that we could create a program that is for professional tech leaders. And that's what we designed, actually, and we looked at those topics. And just want to give you a little overview here. Then I'll invite you to experience a part of this program. And then we'll get back and talk a little bit about more details on this program. So I don't want to spend too much into details. Basically, we aimed to teach tech leaders the mindset and the skill sets to proactively achieve their goals. That's the key part, and to build trust and effectively develop their people so that they can produce the results. So this is where we look at the mindset and the skill set for these three areas. And in a nutshell, we identify these 4 key areas of focus. You see that 3 are highlighted differently than the other one. And then I'll explain a bit later why. But basically, we've kind of simplified this to 3 big topics plus one additional topic. One is self-leadership. So developing, the proactive behavior to get what do you want to get. And then this is important for tech leaders, for tech experts to become self-leaders. The second one is to build trust. And we correlated with what we've seen in the research. And then third one is to coach and mentor people. And then the last one, which is art of influence, is going outside. So if the first 3 are the areas that are for about the self and the one-on-one relationship between the tech leaders and their teams, the last one is more getting outside in the organization, across the organization, across teams. So these are skills that are related to another part. So far, this is where we are, and this is where I am with a presentation. And I would like right now to invite you to experience a little bit, I don't know, as our time allows, from the self-leadership part. We don't have time for everything. I thought, what would I pick? I would pick the self-leadership. So that's the invitation for a demo time. So that will be asking you to put on your learner's hat right now. I know that you have other responsibilities in your organizations, so to care about people and maybe performance and engagement. And so I'm going right now to switch slides, and here we go. And these are slides actually from the session, from the workshop itself. That's where we are. And I like to start with this part, which is thinking about how can we get beyond what's holding us back. And this is the part where we want to look at a concept that is called assumed constraint. It may be perhaps known by many of you, maybe for others. It is something that it is actually affecting or influencing people. I've noticed this as a facilitator on one hand, when I have people in a room in workshops and they say, well, I don't know if this works. What can I learn? I'm so experienced. I'm less experienced. This could be assumed constraints. But I've seen assumed constraints also to the people I led in different teams that I had over time. So I would like, for the purpose of having a common language, to share with you a little video. It's an animated video that actually shares what's our frame of reference about assumed constraints. And then I will invite you to test and practice. What is it about this? So let's go and see what's all about this video and assumed constraints concept.
This baby elephant is being trained to stay put. He's tethered to a stake by a heavy chain. Although the baby elephant pulls and tugs, he can't break away. Eventually, he stops trying. Even when he grows into a 5-ton adult and could easily pull the entire stake out of the ground, he doesn't. Because he believes he cannot, he doesn't even try. That is his assumed constraint. An assumed constraint is a belief that limits new experiences. As adults, we all have assumed constraints. What beliefs do you have that are holding you back? Your assumed constraints not only prevent you from producing your best work, but they can also defeat you before you even try. Your assumptions hold you back from setting goals or believing you can achieve them. On the other hand, challenging your assumed constraints is liberating. Letting go of outdated and debilitating assumptions gives you a sense of autonomy that generates vitality and well-being. Challenge your assumed constraints and free yourself from the tethers of limiting beliefs that have kept you from realizing your possibilities.
Good. Okay, so that's about assumed constraints, and that was our, let's say, frame of reference about this. Now, when we talk about assumed constraints, here is something I'd like to invite you to think about. We could all have some. The first question is, are we accepting that we have assumed constraints? Are we acknowledging our assumed constraints first and then work with them? So I've listed here, just for the purpose of playing with this idea a little bit, 5 examples of assumed constraints that I have heard over time in my sessions. And I would like to invite you now to anonymously vote and use the annotation tool that is available on Zoom, and to pick the ones that you acknowledge and you remember you had at different times in your life as an individual and as a person, as a human being. So for those of you who are not familiar with Zoom, the annotation tool is on the top of your screen. When you are seeing my screen sharing, click on the view options, and then from those options, select annotate, and then you could use this the drawing or the stamp tool, like we see a few of you already checking off the boxes. So it's just cast your votes and say, did I had assumed constraints at least once in my life? So far I can see that some people think they're shy, and some people don't like to be put on the spot. Okay, cool. So that was my plan, actually, because I was planning to invite you to speak. But and it's interesting that nobody had this thought that training is a waste of time. No, good. Have to keep in touch with my office at all times because I'm so important. Thank you. So we have a very important person in this room. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we see a few votes here. Now, I mean, this is an interesting practice here to realize this. Now, my statement here is that even saying I'm shy could be an assumed constraint, or it could be a label, right? Now, rather learning on my own is something that could be a preference, but sometimes could be good, for example, to work with others. Now, I'm not trying to challenge these assumed constraints because they're real. But it's interesting to see, do we see that we have those assumed constraints? Are we accepting those assumed constraints in what we're doing? Okay. Here is a check mark on the training is a waste of time. So we got this one. 2. Now, I think the all-time winner is 246. It's don't like to be put on a spot to answer questions in the class. Thank you. Because it's an anonymous vote, it's your chance to stay anonymous. Now, when we think about this assume constraints, one question is, but what do we do next? I mean, assuming that I admit I have an assumed constraints and I accept this. What do I do next? And I like to introduce you here, so I'm clearing this off, a way to deal with this. And then we call it challenge the assumed constraints. And I'm showing here also a picture that shows 3 clouds or bubbles, whatever you want to call them, over an individual, one of them being challenging assumed constraints. The other 2 are parts of this, what we call the mindset of self-leadership. So the mindset of self-leadership includes 3 big areas that we have identified at Blanchard: being able to challenge our assumed constraints, being proactive, and activating our points of power. So now we're going to focus for a while on the challenging our assumed constraints. And for that, we came up with, we'll share with you this, this part, on a strategy, or maybe, let's say an approach to challenge our assumed constraints so that they don't limit our success. It's sort of a self-coaching approach. And I'd like to, while I'm talking about this, to ask Adi to share with you in the chat a little PDF. It's a handout that you could use to work further, because now we're preparing for some practice. So here is, let's take this as an example. Let's say that an assumed constraint is the one that you see on a screen. I won't stay focused, and because I'm concerned that I'm getting behind on tasks and emails by attending this webinar that we're having right now. So that's an assumed constraint. Is it a valid one? It could be, right? Now, what's the strategy? Well, when we think about challenging assumed constraints, we've discovered that the best way to approach it is use the paradoxical approach from coaching, which is define the opposite, the exactly opposite statement of this. And I'm going to share with you this example. Here is what we call flipping it. So the flipping statement is something that's the total opposite of it. So please notice here the linguistics. I will be present and stay focused on learning without multitasking, because what I learn will help me take my career to the next level. So what we see here as differentiators in this statement are, on one end, just let me try to highlight a few things. So we have a because I'm, and then we have a because here. So actually there needs to be a reason why. Without a reason why, there's, the flipping doesn't happen mentally. That's a mind game, right? And if I'm saying I won't stay focused, the opposite is I will be present and stay focused. So that's an intention that is formulated here. And here the concern that I'm getting behind tasks and emails is flipped by saying what I will learn will help me take my career to the next level. So this is future oriented and is development oriented. So, so you could say, but wait a minute, that requires a learning mindset. Yes, it is. It requires a growth mindset, if I would quote Carol Dweck on that. So in a way, working to flip our concerns, our constraints, assumed constraints, is a way to work with our mind to shift our mindset. Now, there is a third part here that needs to be added. That is the action part, because otherwise it becomes an intellectual statement. So the action part here is, I will check emails or texts only during breaks. Notice, please, that the concern about getting behind is not ignored, but it's refocused, rescheduled, and moved at some other time. So it's an action that takes in. So what we discovered with this little approach here is that we need to figure out, when we want to challenge our assumed constraints, think about what's really the opposite statement that really makes sense for me, and what's the action that I would like to take in order to implement it and just do it. So we're at a moment where it's time for us to, and for you especially, to experiment with this strategy. So what I would like to invite you to do now is, first of all, to remind you, please check the chat in our Zoom for a handouts PDF, the file that was shared by Adi, my colleague. Click on it and download it in your computer. This is where you'll see this example and also some space. And we would like right now to invite you into a breakout room practice, so that together with your colleagues to review and work on one assumed constraint per person. So let's go, you go into the breakouts, and then one of you would say, I'd like to start first. And here is an assumed constraint I admit I have. And then to work together, we'd like to invite you to work together to reframe or flip that assumed constraint into an opposite statement that makes sense for you. I will share the screen in the breakout rooms, this screen in the breakout rooms, for the purpose of illustration. And then in the breakout rooms, we would like to invite you to practice and be focused on the practice of flipping, and then what's the action that you would like to take. And of course, you can take notes on this the virtual PDF, or you can take notes on your paper. I see a comment in the chat.
Just before we go into the breakout rooms, I would like to remind everybody that we will not be recording the breakout rooms. We will not be recording the discussion after, so feel free to participate with your cameras. And stay tuned to the next part.
Recording again in case somebody wants to listen this or watch this later. So when we look at these 4 areas, self-leadership, building trust, coaching and mentoring, and art of influence, we've also included some models. And I'd like to share with you a few models. There's not going to be a teaching of the models, but more an explanation and a description of what's inside each model. So for the self-leadership part, the model we're teaching here is, on one end, focus on the mindset. As you can see, I've already shared a mindset of self-leadership, which is for a tech leader. Imagine this: being able to look at the points of power and challenge their assumed constraints and be proactive. And on a skill set, we're teaching the skill set of, aligning on the goals and clarifying the goals and diagnosing their development level of competence and commitment, and ask for the matching leadership style. This is linked with the SL2 model, which stands for Situational Leadership Model version 2. So SL2 model, that is actually our, I would say, flagship program. Basically, we're adding this into this. So we're teaching tech leaders this model that can have a double focus on leading self and on leading others. So it's a two-way model. So this is the part. It's one of the topics that we're covering throughout our program. The other part that we're covering is, what are the elements of trust? So here we came up with 4 elements of trust, and in playing with the words, we've kind of created this acronym ABCDs of trust: able, believable, connected, and dependable. And our research in Blanchard led us to realize that these are the 4 key ingredients. Now, if you're really curious about this, just do this little exercise and think about a person you trust most, and connect with this and say, do you see that this person that you trust most is able, is believable, is connected to you, and is dependable? Or you can even look at the subtitles there and actually the details, like what does it mean to be able to demonstrate competence, like expertise, results, effectiveness? What is dependable? Being reliable and accountable and responsive, right? And believable. Now do the same exercise and think about somebody you don't trust at all, and see how many of the 4 elements were not there. And that's why you're not trusting a person. It could be 1, or maybe 2 or 3, or even 4, depending on the level of the lack of trust that you may have in a person. So that's a very easy to remember, easy to use model that we're bringing into the program, and they learn about it, and they learn how to rebuild trust, not just build trust. Even if something is broken, they learn how to do it. That's very interesting. And sometimes it's very difficult to rebuild trust with someone, but also how to build trust. Then the third part is the coaching skills and process. And here we're bringing a foundation for coaching. So they'll not become coaches. I mean, it's too little. I mean, you need a lot of hours for that. But we're bringing a process like you see on the right-hand side: connect, focus, activate, review, or CFAR, if I could play with the words. And then also 4 skills. So what we're insisting on is that the skills. And mostly we have a focus on the listening to learn, the first skill, and the second one, which is the inquiring for insight. So listening to learn and inquiring for insight. But all 4 skills are connected with the ICF's, International Coach Federation's competency model. As we are coaches at Blanchard, we're all certified, so we're trying to link this. But here it's a lot of practice into those skills to give them the confidence to use those skills. And of course, we also provide and we also share a process so that we can shed light on what happens in the coaching process, and what is it for them as self-leaders they can take. And the last part, which is the art of influence, which is the additional module, and you will see why I call it an additional module, is linked with 4 areas. One of them is already mentioned, which is building trust. But basically here we focused on what is the art of influencing others. I'm not saying managing stakeholders, and I'm saying influencing others. And one area is as you can see on the left-hand side, how can the tech leaders map what's around them? So who are the key people that they want to talk about? What's their map? And second is, how do they look at this and say, besides building trust, which is a key part, how do they network inside the organization? Because that's important to influence others. How do they influence others looking at their conversational patterns? So be adaptive in their communication. We're using here the DISC model. And how can they sell their solutions? So for example, somebody who's a high, or maybe it's a higher level manager, or maybe it's a senior manager, or maybe it's a key person, and they cannot impose their solution, but they rather go and sell, like convince the person what's an elegant and practical way to do it. So this is what we're teaching them. And each of those 4 parts are, taken to the practical area with activities, with exercises there. So as a conclusion of this process, and then to give you also an overview of the program, and then maybe if there's any question, of course, we can have some Q&A here. There are 2 versions of this program that we've created. Then again, one comment is this program, was created starting from a client experience. So we had a few client requests from technology, and they said, guys, we have those tech leaders. What can we do for them? Let's discuss. And we started with a custom version, several custom versions, and then we standardized them. So what I'm presenting you here is a standardized version of a custom versions that we had before, which means, yes, if that's the need that to be delivered in-house, we can custom it. But actually the standard version, which is also the version that we are organizing with Clickto, is consisting of 5 live virtual sessions of 2 hours each. That's the one. And then we have also an extended version of 7 live virtual sessions, 2 hours each, that adds something. And I'll share with you what adds. So for each version has a different focus. So the standard version gives you the essential. It's the focus on 3 of the 4 pillars: self-leadership, building trust, and coaching. In those 10 hours spent together, they go through this. The extended version that is not with Clickto, but it could be could be an add-on further, is adding the topics of networking, adapting to others, and working, and then actually identifying the stakeholders. So we're adding 4 more hours to this design if needed. But we thought that the 5 ones are absolutely okay to get a good start for any tech leader. And as I said, customization is possible for in-house, but now we're going for the standard that covers, everything there. So I'd like to invite if there's any maybe comments or questions about the content so far. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat if you want, or maybe.
Whereas, did you say this before that the audience is current managers?
It's tech leaders. So experts.
So yes, but in a technical,
Yes, the technical, you could tell them like maybe team leaders or tech leaders, but not managers per se. This is interesting, Sarah, because I would consider a tech leader a manager. Well, he's or she's a leader and still manage people, but they don't see themselves like this. So it's a question of also self-perception. Yeah.
I think one of the characteristics is tech experts that are important, very important talents, and those people that you really wish to empower and give them those tools to maybe change their perception, their own, the way they think about themselves, to be more of a leader than just holding a professional role.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody else that has a question, feel free. Rajesh, I will take the screen from you.
I'm sharing. Yeah, okay, good.
And
yeah, maybe you can add some. Yeah.
No, I just want to invite everybody to the link in the chat for two things. One is a link to the program page on the Click2's Hub. So you may find there's an FAQ there, and you may find more about the program, the syllabus, the different sessions of the program. And then the upcoming cohort starts at the end of October. So this is an amazing opportunity to actually leverage everything that you learned today about the program and what you experienced to actually match people from your organization to this cohort. This is going to be a cohort of up to 15 people. So a very intimate group of tech leaders from different companies. The live sessions are during work hours in the US, so it's always fit for people that are based in the US or can adjust their times to fit. And we have a special promotion. If this is your first employee, your first person from the company that's joining a Click2's program, you can use the promo code that you're gonna get tomorrow by email, which gives you $150 off the price. Very affordable in any case to have this experience and growth opportunity for the people at your company. So two things that you may want to do as a follow-up or more. One, you can actually go to that page and already share that with the people internally that may be interested in learning more, with managers of those people, just to start the exploration, because this is now starting to, the enrollment is now open, but it has a limit of 15 people. So you might want to roll this idea in order to make a decision quick enough in order to have your people in. And then we would love to invite you to have a deeper conversation, 30-minute call or more or less, depending on what are your needs, and you can find the Calendly link in the chat as well. You will get all of that by email tomorrow with the recording. And there's also a survey about this session that will open up right in a minute when we stop the meeting. So please give us some feedback and let us know what you think, what you thought. Rajesh, I appreciate your time and your expertise so much. It was super, super insightful and fun to meet new people. By the way, everybody, if you want to continue the conversation, put your LinkedIn link in the chat now, and so other people can connect with you, or just direct message to them and ask them for their link. Rajesh, you want to add anything before we conclude?
Well, what I would like to add actually here, and I'm an adept of inviting questions. On my, experience with tech leaders, my invitation is to, see who could benefit from this and is really a key player in the organization. And they may not see that. I mean, that's something that I was exposed while I was delivering this program in many areas. This is my invitation. But, are there any other maybe reactions or comments about this? I've seen maybe 1 or 2 comments in the chat.
I see a question from Lucia. What is the cost? So the cost for the shared group is $945 US per person, not including the promo code if you are entitled to the promotion. So that's for the shared. And if you are looking for a customized version for an internal group, of course, you can be in touch with us and we can customize it together with Rajesh and the team at Blanchard and build a customized version, still on the Click2 platform with the whole complete learner journey that's built into the Click2 platform. But the shared group is also a way for you to experiment, to just have a couple of your leaders or tech experts joining, having this experience, and then sell it to a bigger audience internally later on based on their successful experience. More questions? Okay, nice. I love seeing some people sharing their LinkedIn link. I try to connect with everybody in advance. If not, please feel free to connect with me. And that's it. So thank you very much for joining us this morning or evening or afternoon. Resh, thank you again very much. And we'll see you again next time, next month in our next event. You will all get invitation once we have all the details confirmed. So enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much. And please answer the survey that will pop up right now when we end it here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.